All right, hello and welcome back, everyone. This is David with Fairmere's Rangers, and I am bringing you the second part of my review into the multiplayer campaign mod for Empire Total War. So let's break it on down. Okay, we're going to break this down into some parts or things or whatever. You'll figure it out. First thing we're going to talk about is going to be expectations versus reality. Then we're going to talk about what to know going into it. And finally, we're going to discuss my review and what I think about the review. So you're going to want to stick around to the end to get that, because trust me, it's going to be good. That's a clickbait there for you. All right, so let's get into expectations versus reality, because this is something that I faced when I went into it. I did touch a little bit on it in the last video, but I'm going to expand on it a little bit. All right, so first, expectations. Battles that occur between your nation and an AI nation, the other player can play if he wants, or the AI will fight the battle instead. All right, that reality is, if you don't auto-resolve the battle, you will play versus the other human player in the battle. They will control the AI unless they're your ally and their army of their nation is represented in the battle, meaning they're going to be a reinforcement army. Then they will actually control the reinforcing army of their nation, and you will both team up to fight against the AI. Isn't that juicy? All right, the next expectation is, when I install this for vanilla, it will not affect my game in any way. The reality is, when you place the files in your folder playing a campaign in multiplayer, it will not be affected in any way. So that's really good news. However, there are some things that will be changed outside of playing the multiplayer campaign. First, if you play multiplayer, you will have double the money to spend on an army, and you can also bring up to 40 units if you host a multiplayer match, meaning player versus player battles, that kind of multiplayer. So that does affect it. If you're a multiplayer player, it will be affected to that. So that could be a good thing or a bad thing, if you, however you want to take it. So surprisingly, this does not desync in multiplayer. Trust me, I've tried it. So you can now play as two players in a match for multiplayer in a battle, meaning in a, let's say, for example, if you're doing a 4v4, if you want to only have two other teammates, so it's going to be 3 on your side and 4 on theirs, you can bring 2 armies to make it equal sized versus their equal size amount of men or money spent on armies, because you'll have 28,000 to spend on your army. It's just pretty cool, but I'll tell you, it's a lot to micromanage, especially in multiplayer. And I've done it, and it's pretty cool. Obviously, you need to also keep this in mind, because if you are hosting a match, you need to pay attention to how many units you're bringing and how much money if you don't want to do this and you just want to bring the standard 20 units, the same 14,000, you need to not spend over 14,000, or else you'll be a cheat. Nobody likes cheats. Also, another thing that happens is, if you join a person's match, you can still bring over 20 units, but you only have the 14,000 to spend if you're joining another person's multiplayer battle, meaning if you're buying a whole bunch of cheap units, you can bring more than 40, which is also a cheat. So you need to make sure to count your units out so that you're not bringing more than 20. One other thing that it does affect that might be something more players will be affected by is the Road to Independence campaign is not available any longer. If you put the file of this mod in your folder, you will not be able to play Road to Independence campaign any longer. Let's move on to the next expectation. This will improve the game so much I can't wait to get all my friends to try this with me. Empire Total War is more of a campaign-driven game versus its competitor in Napoleon Total War, which is more of a multiplayer-based game. You're getting to marry the two things. You're going to be able to bring all your friends who play campaigns and start playing multiplayer campaigns with them. How exciting is that? No more AI diverse. The reality is, many of your friends will not follow through on their promise to play for many reasons, a lot of which they will never even tell you. The player base you're going to find is not going to be as plentiful as you're going to think it's going to be. Even with Steam groups and Discord servers to set up trying to marry players up with their opponents, it still seems to be an issue, at least in my experience. Now, I have found, obviously, my son to play with, and I'm using that as a training experience that we're doing. I'm training him up on the game. In my case, I expected maybe many friends to be interested, and it just hasn't worked out, whether it be because of time and schedule conflicts, skill levels, and God knows what. For my experience, it's been quite difficult to find other players to play. Maybe it is most of the Empire Total War community has grown so used to playing with itself that it has a little bit difficult time finding another partner. Why does that sound not right? That just, maybe that's, yeah, okay, we're just gonna go with it. You know me. Anyways, let's just put it this way. A community needs to be established here before I think this really takes off. Okay, so let's talk about some things to know going into this. All right, so first thing, make sure that you save games often. Remember, this is a multiplayer match, and when dealing with two people's internet connection, someone can drop and probably will. So save often, especially before battles. P.S. The host needs to be the only person to save. Number 2, remember to look at all the settings thoroughly before starting the campaign and do not change any once it has started. Number 3, if playing a mod, make sure both players have the same submods added or not in some cases before you start, and also the same versions of the mod. Desyncs may happen as a result if you do not have the same exact mods. Number 4, if a player does desync, you must restart Steam or at least Empire Total War, or you will continue to have desyncs. Number 5, if an invite has been sent from the host, do not accept the invite if you are currently in another campaign, or you are in a multiplayer battle match, or you will cause a desync if you accept that invite. If you do, once again, you will desync the match. Maybe not right away, but it will happen. And now revert back to rule 4, restart Steam or Empire Total War. Number 6, it is important for both players to have as good of a connection to the internet as possible. Wait until you finish your lunch at McDonald's and go home, for Pete's sakes. This should make obvious sense, but make sure your routers are also working as well. I had that issue with my router. I think that one's pretty obvious. But moving on to number 7, the host is the only one that can save the game, period. Number 8, if you play versus a player lower than your tier level of experience, you will be back to single player after you wreck them and they finish sobbing and rage quit. Number 9, is Radman legit? For this free VPN, in my experience, I would say yes, it is legit. I have had no issues with Radman. It is a very good program, or VPN, what the hell ever you call it. Anyways, I like it. Moving on. All right, so now for my review, the thing you've all been waiting for. All right, so let's break it down. So first things first, after all the years of wanting and begging CA and Sega to give us access to the multiplayer campaign that they had beta, we now have it thanks to the time and effort of our peers, those wonderful modders. A huge thank you to all the hard work and efforts that they put into this mod. Now, many of you know that I am highly critical of most of the mods out there, as throughout my 11,000 hours of playing this game, I have a pretty good grasp of what most of them offer. I can set your minds at ease, as this mod makes it very simple to install and use with many different versions of the game. And it is working really well, frankly, meaning that many of your favorite mods that you play, you are able to embark on the multiplayer campaign journey. I can't imagine the time and effort that went into this to make this possible without being paid. God, that is incredible. They not only accomplished what CA and Sega stupidly did not, they also made it playable for many of us old people who just enjoy to play plain old vanilla. Isn't that wonderful? For me, being a vanilla user, most of my review will be based on that. It is very pleasant to have another mod that does not disrupt my vanilla play outside of the minor things I mentioned before in this video. After all this time, I can finally enjoy the game in scenarios of multiplayer campaign that me and my sons or my friends could have hoped for. I have played at least 40 turns into the game of the multiplayer campaign mod without a desync or major drops that can cause an end of campaign scenario, meaning we should have no issues seeing your visions and my visions of conquest go ahead to the end of your campaign. I'm enjoying using the campaign as a training tool, and that has been a better tool than any training thing I've used to train people on Total War, Empire Total War, that is. That includes using grassy flats or sitting behind somebody's shoulder, giving them instructions, talking to them through chat while they, play the battle or a game or campaign, whatever whatever the possibility is. It's been the best training tool I've used so far. The possibilities for this multiplayer campaign mod are huge. Who knows? Maybe we can build a community of multiplayer campaigners and set tier lists, rankings, where players can get grouped together in the adequate tier level that they are currently in and find their equal that they can play a campaign, and then they can make their ways up the tier lists as they gain experience. Sure, we may run into the toxic persons which plague every multiplayer community, but with strong leadership and good players out there, we can start something cool here, and the hard work of these fine modders can be paid off in full. Big shout out to all of our channel members for all of their support. If you would like to become a channel member today, click that join button and get early access to content like this and exclusive content for members only. Be involved in the decision making of what comes out, and also I appreciate you all. Alright guys, if you did enjoy this review, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already and join the subscriber base. Also, if you did enjoy the video, like I said, click that like button. It does help push this out to more people. I appreciate you guys as always. We will see you on the next video. If you have any questions, hit me up in the comment, and we'll see you in the next campaign.